you're gonna have to either like super freaking awesomely explain to me what that you mean exactly when you say intellect, or
intellect basically is the ability to abstract concepts from our experience, chain those concepts together into thoughts, and then move from one thought to another according to the rules of logic. That's what I mean.
Is there like any reason that process couldn't have evolved, like physically, materially?
Because it involves no material things other than like abstracting the abstract.
It involves a brain. It involves consciousness. You just said that. It involves like the consciousness mediating between the body and the environment. Like, no, look, you just said it involves no material things.
That's only because human beings are not fully immaterial things.
I don't accept that. Okay, look, you said it involves no. You said it involves no non-physical.
If we're talking about purely hypothetical angelic minds, an angelic mind doesn't need experience, are not empirical, are not like they don't learn things empirically. All the concepts are there in them already. They don't experience things because experience requires consciousness. We are rational animals. We have one foot in both worlds, so to speak. That's what dualism essentially says about humans.
Ultimately, I don't accept your supposition of the transcendental subject. Provide some evidence.
So wait, I can actually argue from his point a little bit. There's a dimension of awareness that doesn't arise just because we're humans or because we're life.
I would actually point to the universals as examples of things that are obviously not material things.
Okay.
I mean, have you ever encountered the actual concept of triangularity in your everyday experience? I
don't even understand the question.
I'm not talking about particular triangles. I mean the very concept of triangularity, the universal concept of triangularity.
I think it would be easier if we used the term gravity, right? Did we ever experience the
gravity is a physical force. We're not talking about that. We're talking about triangularity. We're talking or law or
let's try color, right?
Like Plato's abstract forms, right?
Yeah, abstract forms, universals, things like you've heard of Plato, right?
Yes.
Look, I know what you're talking about. I don't accept your supposition that there is an abstract mind, as there is some universal or angelic mind. I don't think that you've demonstrated that as a necessary conclusion.
You're a Christian, right?
We wouldn't be able to interact with universals if we did.
You're a Christian, right?
Yes, I am a Catholic.
Do you believe that God is all-knowing?
Yes, I do believe that God is omniscient.
Okay, so he knows everything that will ever happen and has ever happened.
Okay, I see where you're getting to this. Let me ask you this.
Yes or no, man?
Yes.
Or no?
Oh my god.
I mean, I've come across that. I've argued with atheists before on this a million times, and I know these things.
I'm not an atheist.
How can free will exist in a world where God knows everything?
I'm not an atheist. I'm not at all.
Well,
I'm
not saying you are, but I've encountered that objection.
So I just want to know if God is all-knowing, meaning everything must be predicted by him. He's an omniscient being. How can you have free will? How can you decide to do something that he won't know?
You can't.
So is the will free?
Yes.
I mean, it's not free from God's knowledge, though, right?
Okay, what is God doing to...
What
is God doing to control...
I'll tell you what he's doing.
He knows what will happen.
Yeah, he knows the outcome.
Yeah, that's okay. Like, by knowing what will happen, the thing that happens can't differ from what he knows.
Let me give you an example This is a thought experiment that I gave to an atheist skeptic that talked about this. Okay, we have let's talk about Mr. Brain. Mr. Brain is a brain in a jar, and he is omniscient, meaning he knows everything. He knows everything, basically. All right?
This is actually a good example.
Okay, Mr. Brain is omniscient, but he has no power outside of what is outside of the ordinary brain in a jar. So Mr. Brain knows that Kyle, the crazy guy, is going to is going to kill him with an aluminum bat.
Okay,
according to your position, the fact that Mr. Brain knows Kyle is going to kill him is somehow preventing Kyle from choosing otherwise not to kill him.
Oh my god, let me talk. Let me talk.
Go ahead, sir.
That's a non-sequitur.
Let's go.
Hold on.
The entire point of the exercise is showing
the one that just said, "Oh my god, let me talk." You have to talk now.
Go.
Okay, no. Because I want to address it directly. Okay, so if Mr. Brain knows, oh my god, the language here, so cringe. All right, so can I just say Brain instead of Mr. Brain? It sounds
you have to say Mr. Brain.
The brain. You can call him Brain.
I don't accept that. You have to call it Mr. Brain. The law of identity.
It's supposed to be. It was supposed to be tongue in cheek because it makes reference to memes that were used in that server.
Memes were changed to protect the cringe.
The bat got crazy being named Kyle, etc.
Yeah.
It's using memes. I was being clever. Go ahead.
Okay, so a real quick clarification on something that I definitely think should have probably happened sooner, but also to directly reply to exactly what you said. I don't want it to become one of those things where every time somebody says the D word, aka determinism, or any sort of iteration of it, right? Deterministic, blah, right? I don't want it to become this like trigger word for like, nope, can't agree to that. Like that's like the one. That's the one. That's the one place.
I'm only concerned with determinism when people try to claim. Mm-hmm. The version of determinism that means there's no free will.
So, wait, just to clarify, does that mean that you are attached to free will such that you could not accept if it was wrong?
Well, I wouldn't be able to. I mean, you'd have to my belief in free will comes from like several other different.
Don't you think it kind of comes from your religion? Like you would kind of have to. Look at your religious alignment a bit.
Joseph, are you a compatibilist?
Uh-oh.
I'm definitely a compatibilist over here.
No, you're not, Vivi.
Yes, I am.
You're not. Okay, compatibilism is nonsense.
I think compatibilism either I don't know much about compatibilism, but from what I have read, compatibilism to me seems like a weird this idea that either collapses into free will or determinism.
Oh no. Yeah. No, that's true, Vivi. Okay.
No, it just claims that they're compatible. Like you said, you reject ones that claim they're incompatible, but compatibilism just claims they're compatible, so you might accept them.
I'm just going to rephrase, like, in other terms, what compatibilism says. Compatibilism says that something can be true and false at once.
Oh, no.
That is not true.
I do not agree with that.
That is true. No. Free will and determinism are contradictory terms.
It defines free will in a way that's compatible. It defines it different from how libertarians
define free will. Interrupting, guys. Everyone's interrupting right now.
I mean,
if it uses a different definition, it's not free will anymore. It's something different.
Well,
how can you claim there's just an objective definition of free will?
Guys,
okay,
stay on topic.
I can give you my definition of free will. If you don't disagree, then you can't contest my claim.
Okay, the word free will refers to a concept by which refers to a specific concept.
Mm-hmm.
If we try to confuse us by using free will to refer to different concepts, then we're basically arguing over. We start arguing over definitions, and that's never fun.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying, though, that the compatibilist proposition is one which is founded on equivocation between free will and what the compatibilism definition of free will is.
But Ghost of Buckley, you said that free will for you is when the active intellect makes decisions, right?
It's basically making. It's basically free will is a power. It's a capacity to make decisions based on the findings of the intellect.
But yeah, so if that happens, like if you agree with the banana, thought experiment, where if you had the same preconditions, you would always choose the banana. Then it sounds like for you, at least, you're defining free will in a way that is compatible with determinism, right?
Well, it really depends. For me, it really depends on how you define determinism. Because I don't think my definition of free will contradicts what, like, most other people talk about when they say free will, which is, like, the ability to, like, make certain choices within a certain... But the thing is, it depends on how you define determinism for me.
Okay, so like that isn't what people usually talk about when they say free will. What people usually talk about when they say free will is the ability to choose such that you could have chosen otherwise.
Well, that's libertarian free will specifically.
Well, we can talk about possibility. Like, if circumstances were different, then you could have chosen otherwise.
Yes, but the circumstances aren't different, therefore, you can't choose otherwise.
So, I mean, I mean, there's, I'm not, it really... I don't. Maybe
so
I'm.
Buckley, how do you define determinism then? So you said that it seems to come down to how you define determinism.
Uh-oh. Did he die?
No, I think he's just making sure he's certain on his terms.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Definitely take a moment to
So I was saying earlier about compatibilism. I would say that choice is a thing, determinism is a thing, choice is determined.
Yes, that's not compatibilism. Compatibilism uses the word free will, the term free will. Okay, if that's what you're talking about, that is not free will. You can call it will. I will accept that will is compatible with determinism, but if you want to call it free will, you are equivocating.
Okay, but for me, what makes will free is that you are the one making the choice and not something that's controlling.
That makes sense.
Is that the definition of free in general? Because that is more like a definition of freedom from like other human subjects, really. Right? Means unconstrained.
Wait a second. I have the greatest example in the history of examples.
Let's go.
Wait, okay, but it's all contingent on this one thing. Dun, dun, dun. Buckley, have you seen the movie Doctor Strange?
Uh-oh. He's gonna say no.
I will murder myself if you haven't seen... you're muted, by the way.
Are we talking about... Mr.
Buckley?
Are we talking...
No, shut up! No spoilers! Shut up! Shut up! No spoilers! Buckley, have you seen Doctor Strange? The suspense is killing me.
He's not answering.
I'm sorry.
Did you just apologize to mute again? That's not how this works.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about. It's getting late for me, guys. I mean, I have to.
Oh man.
Well, no, with respect to that, because I mean, if you got to leave, you got to leave. All that stuff over there. But real quick, have you seen the movie Doctor Strange?
No, never.
Fuckity shit! All right, I'm out.
You need to watch that, man. You need to watch it.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of most of like the Marvel cinematic movies.
All right, let's get them the fuck up out here. We need an admin to ban this. No, I was playing.
No,
okay, but hold on.
You're doing good.
Hold on, wait. Okay, wait a second. Okay, so this will still work. It'll just be less awesome because had you seen it, then you would definitely render it. Okay, so if you're never going to watch the movie and you give me permission to go ahead and give you spoilers, I'll tell you the scene I was going to talk about.
I love spoilers.
Okay, well then, ladies and gentlemen, spoilers. All right.
No, but I gotta ask everybody else. That's a really good movie. And I really think
I haven't seen it, but I am
It's
okay
so
with
good.
spoiling it.
Happen to yourself.
Oh my god! How
Nephil's
the
dying.
fuck, dude? I'm dying, yo. This is almost as important as pineapple and pea. All right, but anyway, so
wait. I hope did you ask him?
That's how we should have started this debate.
Yeah,
but we can't go back. We can't go back.
All
okay.
right.
So okay, Buckley. So in the movie that I'm now going to spoil for fucking everybody.
Oh, even that way, you're gonna be spoiling it for the recording too, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, fair warning, spoiler warning for anybody listening to the record. Okay.
We'll have to put in a spoiler warning when we upload it.
Exactly. There you go. Just put it in the annotations. So there's a scene in the movie where Doctor Strange shows up after a fight has taken place and the final seal that protects Earth and shit has fallen. The movie's kind of crazy. There's like a lot of concepts in it, whatever. But like, so essentially, like the world's going to end and all the shit, and like this dimensional portal opens up, and this big fucking like nebulous demon named Dormammu comes through and like it's gonna consume the world, right? But but Doctor Strange has the time power stone, right? So he does his little spell, uses the stone, turns back time, right? And he intervenes, right? So he changed the fate, right? So, but what happens is that when he turns back time, they still can't win the fight. Like he realizes that the world is still going to end, right? Like regardless of his intervention, right? So he makes the decision to fly through the portal and meet Dormammu before he consumes the world, right? So he flies through, meets Dormammu. Now Dormammu, this is very important, exists outside of time. So yeah, Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Yeah,
this is such a good scene. Oh,
this
such a good scene. All
spoiler,
right, yeah,
man.
all right. So anyway, so he goes up.
This is the point in the movie that really got me.
I know.
Thanks,
dude,
guys. Fucking hell.
All the feels. I probably. Hey, you have been warned. So he flies up and he meets Dormammu before he comes and consumes the world, right? Because he knows that this is the only option is to intervene, right? He wants to change fate, like he wants to stop Dormammu from consuming the world. So he flies up and he says, Dormammu, I want to bargain. He's having none of that shit, and he kills Doctor Strange. But Doctor Strange had done another spell to automatically reset in case the possessor of the time stone dies, right? So again, Dormammu exists outside of time. This is important. So when Dormammu kills Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange is automatically resurrected, he comes back to a point where he's already made the choice to go and bargain with Dormammu. So Doctor Strange flies back up, talks to Dormammu, and says, you know, I'll come here to make a bargain. Dormammu wants nothing to do with this, so he kills Doctor Strange. The spell is procced again. He goes back to where he's made the decision. He flies back up and says, Dormammu, I want to bargain. This happens about 100 goddamn times. What's important here is that Dormammu, again, exists outside of time. It eventually reasons that he is either going to spend an eternity killing this person who is intervening, like that's his fate, right? He's locked into this cyclical pattern, this unchanging cyclical pattern. And so he goes, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm not going to spend eternity, you know, face palming this motherfucker to death, right? So instead, he calls off the consumption of Earth, he calls back his acolytes, and the portal closes, right? But what's demonstrated in this loop is that every single time that Doctor Strange dies, it was after he had made the decision, right? Like he chose to go and intervene on behalf of, you know, reality, right? It goes to save Earth.
It's actually
he makes this the main chat guys.
That's generally how angels make decisions.
What, they exist outside of time and they kill Doctor Strange?
No.
Sounds like some baseless claims to me.
Exist outside of time. However, they do not have, and they do have free will, just like us. However, because they exist outside of time, they don't have consciousness. They don't have new experiences that cause them to change their minds. So once they're locked onto a so at the moment of their creation, they make a decision, and they are locked onto that decision.
Wait, how do they make that decision at the moment of their inception then? Like, what process do they use? Do they like evaluate like the evidence and like the laws of logic, and then their values, and then they decide what to do?
Angels are not that. Like I said, angels don't have consciousness. They are created with all the knowledge that they're ever going to have. Or
wait, how do you know that?
So then,
so wait.
No, let's just ignore the epistemic
This is based
claim,
on of Thomas Aquinas' angel.
Yeah, anyway, so like you just said, like they're born with all the information they're going to have. So if they're born with all the information they're going to have, then doesn't the information they're going to have predetermine the decision they will make?
You know what? Let's avoid using the word predetermined and let's use the word locked on. I like locked on. We'll go with locked on. I like the word locked on.
Or fated.
How are they predetermined if they're the one making their only decision?
How are they making their only decision? Right. Evaluating it based on like information that they're given at birth.
Yeah, they're making their only decision, right? They're making their one choice that they can choose.
And it's a snap decision too, because
oh my god.
But with what information apart from what they are given can they make the decision?
Yeah, please address the point.
Only what they're given. Yes. So isn't it true then that what they're given determines that what they will do?
Well, you could say that.
I mean, I am saying that is true.
Well, they have an intellect.
You keep referring to this
that judges things.
I mean,
But they have but two angels that have the same that have all the same knowledge could make completely different decisions because they
because the circumstances.
But the circumstances are always the same, right?
Well, yeah.
So, like, how could they make different decisions? I'm confused.
I mean, you chose to live, so.
Dormammu.
All right.
It's getting close to bedtime.
So, like, I think now that I think about it, I might have contradicted. Okay. Oh gosh, I really. Hey,
no, that's
guys.
Fair. Look,
take a second.
All right. Yeah. Do you think I could? I'm gonna have to give in, guys. I mean,
yeah, maybe we can come back to this tomorrow or the next day when you've got some time free.
I'm not going to have time.
It's Sunday. It's Sunday tomorrow. We can understand that.
If you want to come back, like when you do,
there's a lot of time. I don't know the next time I'm gonna have like this. Actually,
no, but I think, Buckley, before you go, can you define determinism? Because I feel like if that would clear a lot of things up, but I don't. Unless
determinism. Okay, there are two different ideas of determinism I have in my brain. One is the kind of determinism where it's the opposite of indeterminism, which means the opposite of randomness, basically. Determinism as the opposite of randomness. Prior decisions, prior causes create certain effects, rather than indeterminism, which basically means like random stuff, quantum, what certain people call quantum mechanics. And then there's also determinism as in its opposite, as defined as
it's called
free will. That your free will, that your decisions are determined by forces outside of the self.
Yeah, so then I think that first definition would be compatible with your definition of free will, and then that second definition, by definition, would be incompatible with free will. So I really think this is kind of a pointless semantic discussion to a certain extent. But
well, yeah, I think, yeah.
Like, which definition does he ascribe to? That's the question.
No, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you just pick a definition, then we can determine whether it's compatible with free will or not.
My entire argument against Insig's syllogism.
Did you just call him Insig?
Is that it's an equivocation between the two different definitions of determinism.
Wow. Please show me where I equivocate.
Okay, you say that the processes by definition are deterministic.
Yes.
in that instance, you use deterministic as in it's not random.
Yes.
But then in the final thing, you switch the definition of deterministic to mean against free will.
No, that's what. Excuse me. If there are no factors other than those that I identified, then it is completely determined by the factors that I identified. Okay, that leaves no room for either randomness or free will. Neither of those fit into the equation.
But what if the process requires free will?
But it doesn't. That's what I just demonstrated in the syllogism.
No, but once again, you're begging the question by defining free will as
free,
not being compatible with determinism.
Excuse me, free as in not constrained.
Okay. You're saying that the process is it's a in the third syllogism.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that I agree that decision making is a process, and that
it's a constrained process
is deterministic in that it's not random.
No, but in that it's completely constrained.
But what aren't you assuming that the process, the process, that decision making process lacks free will?
No, what I said was that the decision-making process takes into account all the variables and all the rules. Now, if free will was involved, it would have to be a variable or a rule.
Yeah,
I agree.
So if the process is determined by the variables and the rules, then free will doesn't, it's not free insofar as the consequence follows precisely from the rules and the variables. Where is the freedom involved? That is constraint by definition.
Well, human beings don't have perfectly free will. That doesn't mean
we don't have any
freedom at all.
Yeah, no, we have the illusion of freedom. We have the illusion of freedom.
Isn't that begging the question, though? You're assuming that You're assuming that the decision-making process lacks free will.
If I could cut in for a second, I just want to point out, so people are really good at being good reaction machines, and so that's what gives us that illusion of free will.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that I'm begging the question because I make the assumption of my conclusion, right? Except what I'm saying is that if I can present to you an explanation of the phenomenon you're describing where there is nothing that escapes the constraints I delineate, for you to call it free will is contradictory.
Well,
You're good, man.
I gotta go, guys. I'm sorry. I mean,
cool.
I think we've gotten a lot of progress in that I now understand your positions better. I think
awesome.
I think I understand them. I think we're disagreeing on that last point. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You understand where it's.
Yeah, it seems to me we're disagreeing about whether or not the will is free.
And I think the only way we could resolve this without me trying to look up on Google for logical arguments from free will by Brian Kaplan is by going over all the other reasons why I believe it, all the reasons why I believe in free will, which comes from Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas's anthropology and my Christian faith, which requires that I have which considers free will a dogma.
So look, we're happy to go over those other beliefs with you at a later date when you come back and you want to talk about it again. But it seems to me that the conclusion to any problem follows necessarily from the premises and the rules. And I'm saying if we examine the terms that we're using and make sure that we don't equivocate at any point, I think the syllogism I presented is the conclusion, and it doesn't seem to equivocate to me.
That's okay. I think he needs his time to think over it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, rest in
I
peace.
think he left.
Oh, we didn't even need to say bye. I was gonna say God bless, but oh well.